for the kind introduction. Before we start, can someone from the head table confirm that you can hear my voice clearly?
Yes, we can hear you, Buddhika.
Okay, thank you. Then I'm going to share my screen. Hope that you all can see the screen as well. Can you all see my screen? Can someone from the head table confirm whether you all can see my screen?
Dr.
Yes, sir.
Buddhika, we can hear you. See,
Okay.
we can see. Right,
Okay.
okay.
Thank you very much. Right. So good morning to all of you. So we will move with the next session, which is with a bit confusing title, which goes as being a competent and a compassionate doctor according to local and international standards. So you must be wondering what we are going to discuss here, whether it's going to be a theoretical session. But don't worry, this is not going to be a theoretical session at all. We are going to practically discuss some of the important components in relation to your future medical career. So there are three specific objectives that we are hoping to cover during this session. We are going to be sensitized on some career-related demands and expectations in relation to your future medical career. And then we are going to highlight some of the opportunities that you are at local level as well as at the international level. How this workshop can help you in getting the relevant inputs regarding the career-related demands, expectations, and the opportunities. So first, we'll start successfully completing that highly stressful period. But having said that, you will appreciate that there are some factors that made you safe during your internship period. Now, for an example, all of you all were doing internships inside hospital. Medical officers, and there were many senior staff categories to guide you. For an example, your senior medical colleagues include starting from the senior house officers, registrars, senior registrars, as well as consultants. So will it be same in the rest of your career? So we'll see. First of all, let us do a comparison in relation to the length of time. Now we discussed that up to now your career is 1 year and few more months. Now most of you all must be around 30 years. So please remember that you have a career at least 30 years more. So that means compared to the time period that you have spent as a medical professional, the time period that you are going to spend in future is at least 30 times or longer. So don't worry, if you are not happy about your medical career up to now, there is a period 30 times longer or more that you can do some adjustments in your lifestyle and you can be happy for the rest of your medical career. And if you are already happy about your medical career, so you can be happier with some improvements that this workshop will help you in getting some of the inputs for making your career happier if you are already happy. Now, compared to your medical career up to now, your medical career that you are going to spend in future will be more diverse. Now, for an example, the first appointment that you are going to get as a post-intern, in that appointment, you will be posted into many different institutions. For examples, some of you all will be posted into hospitals, into different units. And some of you all will be posted into some health institutions like provincial directorate officers and regional directorate officers. And some of you all will be posted into MOH officers as well. So in relation to your roles, some of you will be mainly involved in the patient management as medical officers at the hospital levels. Whereas some of you all will have some additional responsibilities like institutional responsibilities if you are posted as a medical officer in charge. And some of you all will involve in public health program planning as well as medical officer maternal and child health or medical officer epidemiology. And some of you all will be the health manager in some geographical areas functioning as MOHs or additional MOHs. Remember that AMOH means additional MOH and not assistant MOH. And some of you all will be relief medical officers and you will land anywhere depending on the requirement of that particular institution. So you can see that the future medical career is going to be more diverse compared to what you have been up to now. Now, in your future medical career, there will be some new roles that you are going to play, new responsibilities that you are going to acquire. For an example, you will have to be more accountable. If I give you some examples, some of you will have to acquire the responsibility of accountability in relation to individual patients. Whereas some of you all will have to acquire some responsibility in relation to the institutional level as a whole, if you are posted as a medical officer in charge. And you have to acquire some responsibilities in relation to leadership. For an example, if you are posted as a medical officer of health, you have to guide multiple staff categories. And you cannot forget about your career development as well. Some of you all will involve in postgraduate studies. And even if you are not involved in postgraduate studies, you have to be updated. And your family life is also important. Some of you are already married and some of you will get married. So you have to think about building a house, earning money, and the welfare of your children as well. So you can see that there are many roles that you will have to play and there will be many targets under different domains. I just saw a few messages telling that some of you cannot hear. So can one or two of you confirm whether you all can hear me clearly?
We can hear.
Okay, thank you. So we will proceed with our discussion. So where we stopped, we told that there will be different targets in relation to different domains. So we just contacted few of you all randomly and asked, what is your main priority when you consider your future medical career? So these were some of the responses that we got. So some people told that they want to become consultants as soon as possible. And some people told that they want to acquire some postgraduate achievements, but a few years later. And some wanted to allocate more time for family commitments. And some wanted to be financially stable as soon as possible. And there was one person who told that that person wanted to develop the qualifications and to be eligible to apply for a post in international organizations like World Health Organization or UNICEF. So you can see currently you have different ambitions, different priorities. So your priority may need not be identical to somebody else's, but there is one point that we want to highlight. Whatever is priority, whatever your priority is, it is up to you to decide. You can decide that by yourself and having consulted your loved ones. But our main message is that please plan your career now itself without wasting few more years. You can do some revisions of your plan, but do the initial planning now itself. So to help with your planning, we contacted several senior medical officers who have more than 20 years experience in their lives following the post-intern period. And we told them that we are doing a workshop like this, and we asked them to reflect on their medical career. So again, I'm telling these were the medical officers who were having an experience of more than 20 years. So we asked, please reflect on your past life as a medical professional and tell what you feel and what advices you like to give to these upcoming post-interns. So before I summarize what they told, let's hear to two of their audio clips.
I enjoy my life with 3 kids. Family got wonderful, happy environment. We go trips, we play music, we enjoy really our life. I started my job as a doctor 20 years ago. I started saving when I was a young man. I started saving with my first salary. I invest my money on lands, fixed deposit and insurance policies. Never waste your money on big vehicles on barrels of fuel, on big houses, on unnecessary parties and unnecessary buyings. Enjoy minimalist living. Save for future while enjoying your life. My best property is my children. My best saving is children's education. Most difficult thing is not earning money, but most difficult thing is saving money. Saving will save your future happy, interesting life. I earn my extra income by my properties where I invest my money fruitful way. For your young people, I am kindly requesting you to take me as an example to plan your life in future. Thank you very much.
Okay, so can one or two of you confirm whether you heard what your senior medical colleague just told?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. So you heard that he's very happy about his life. So he has planned that from the beginning. And not only he has planned family commitments, but he has some planning on the financial management as well. So let's listen to another female medical colleague who is a female.
I'm a consultant with working experience of nearly 20 years. I am married with 3 kids. I would like to share my experience with you to have a better work-life balance to do our profession as a female doctor. You will have to face so many challenges in both professional and personal life. So you should have courage, determination and willpower to overcome these challenges. You have to develop professional skills and knowledge to improve your professional life. You have to take responsibilities in life as a wife, mother, daughter, and a sister. You also need a social life as well to enjoy your life with some recreational activities and other social activities. I hope you will understand what I have shared with my experiences. Wish you all the best.
So can one or two of you confirm whether you heard that clearly? Did you all hear that clearly?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. So you see that that your senior medical colleague, who is a consultant now, has not ignored any of the family commitments, and in addition, she has acquired some postgraduate qualifications as well. So with that background, we will see what are the findings when we combine all the comments given by your senior medical professionals. So they all were generally satisfied about their medical career. But there were some variations regarding their level of satisfaction when we compare, when we consider their professional achievements, financial stability, overall quality of life, and the way the challenges were managed in their life. I give you one or two examples. There are a few who are very happy about their professional achievements. If there are of them who are very rich now, they perceive them as rich and they are very happy about their financial stability, but they now feel that it would have been better if they have got some postgraduate qualifications as well. So you see that generally our doctors are happy, but there are variations in relation to their satisfaction when we consider different domains. So what do you all think? Is this same in other countries? So just to give you that evidence, we did a quick literature search in relation to Asian as well as other countries. So we are going to show you two examples. These are from two studies, one done in Pakistan and other one is done in Australia. So you can see that the results we got are almost comparable. Doctors are satisfied about their medical career. So you can be happy. You have entered into a profession where the general tendency is to make you happy at the end. So please remember that. Now coming back to the findings we got from your senior medical professionals, now we told that they were generally happy about their career, but there were variations in relation to their professional achievements, financial stability, quality of life, and the way they manage their challenges. But almost all of them wanted to emphasize 2 points in this workshop. One is that they all said that there were unexpected incidents that happened in their life. And they all believe that, and they all want to convey that planning from the beginning and continuous review of that plan would enable you to achieve more targets. So again, we are strengthening what we told earlier. Please have some basic plan of your future medical career now itself. Right, so now we have discussed something about career expectations. Now we will discuss something about career demands. Now, are there any standards that we need to follow as medical professionals? Now, you all know that if you do some postgraduate studies, there are specific set of competencies that you need to achieve. Those will be tested by postgraduate examinations. But whether you do postgraduate, whether you are involved in postgraduate studies or not, irrelevant of whether you involved in postgraduate studies or not, there are some generic standards that we all should adhere wherever we work as medical professionals. Now, these generic set of standards have been defined by different organizations, and there are some different formats. It is better at least to have an idea about one of those formats. So we'll discuss with you a format proposed by the General Medical Council of United Kingdom that is called Good Medical. These are the generic standards that should be adhered by all medical professionals wherever they work. So general medical practice guidelines say, good medical practice guidelines say that you must be conscious about 4 domains in service delivery. So domain 1 is on knowledge, skills, and performance. So it says that you need to be updated, not only in relation to the patient management, but in relation to aspects like research, teaching, and proper documentation as well. And domain 2 is about safety and quality. Now it includes many components like patient safety, your safety, and how can you involve in quality improvement processes like audit activities. And domain 3 is called communication, partnership, and teamwork. And it includes many aspects which are directly related to the communication. And in addition, aspects like collaboration, patient transfer, and standards in relation to the supervision of other medical categories, other health staff categories as well. And then the domain 4 is called maintaining trust. And as you can understand, it includes aspects like ethics and some additional aspects like financial handling as well. So when you have time, please go through this template and get some more idea about good medical practice guidelines. Now, having got that background, now we are going to discuss something called reflective practice, which is recommended to be practiced by all medical professionals globally. Now, reflective practice is, in a summary, learning from our experiences. That means when something happens to us, we think about that experience or that occurrence or that incident and see how we performed in that circumstances and how better we could have performed. So what are the things that we need to improve in our skills and knowledge? And then we try to improve those skills and knowledge and apply those in the next encounter of a similar instance. So we will give you 3 examples for that. Now let's say a patient is admitted to a unit with a particular disease condition and you contributed in the management of that patient. Now when you have some time, think how did you contribute in that patient management? What could have you done better? And what are the aspects that you found as that you should improve in relation to your clinical skills? And how can you improve your clinical skills? And you improve your clinical skills by those methodologies and then try to apply the improved knowledge and skills when you come across another similar patient. And if you look at another scenario, let's say, unfortunately, a patient died in your hospital, in your unit, and you try to break bad news to the relatives. And when you are breaking bad news, you realize that you are not very much confident and you are not very much comfortable in doing that. Let's say you did not start properly, and let's say you were not comfortable, and at the end they were asking some questions like, "Ai අපිටම මෙහෙම වෙන්නේ, අයි මොන වැරද්දද අපි කරලා තියෙන්නේ, අපි වැරදි කරලා නැහැ. ඇයි ඉතින් එහෙම කරද්දිත් අපිට මෙහෙම වෙන්නේ?" So you could not answer these kind of questions. So then you realize that you need to have some kind of a template in your head for breaking bad news, and you need to be ready to answer those questions. And next time when you are breaking a bad news, then you are an improved person, and you just evaluate whether you have improved now. So this reflective practice goes on and on. So if we give another example, let's say you get attached to a MOH office as the additional medical officer of health, and you with your team members go to a district level review meeting, and you do your presentation regarding on, let's say, on vaccination, and the crowd start asking some questions, and at the end your team cannot answer those questions well. Then at the end of that meeting, you all get together and review and think, what could have you done better in answering the questions that they ask? And the next time you go to that review meeting, you compare the second version of the performance with what you did some time back and see whether you all got improved. So just make reflective practice a practice in your day-to-day life. And just remember that you can just get more information about this reflective practice, and it is this cycle that we are showing is called Kolb cycle. So you can read more about that when you have some free time. Now, having got those background details about career expectations and career demands, now let's talk something about the career opportunities. Now, when you are working in the health department, again, we are telling that you all are very lucky. Now, it is not a stagnant profession. You are not finishing with the way that you started. Now, there's a great path. There's a longer path that you can travel. So there are career opportunities in relation to the local setting as well as the overseas settings. Now, let us give you some examples. There are plenty of postgraduate opportunities. We will show some of these opportunities after the in addition to that, postgraduate related overseas placements, you can find some placement short term and get some special leave and so let's discuss something on the postgraduate opportunities, and I'll try to divert now to the postgraduate Institute of Medicine website. So when you have some time, please go to this site, and under this menu, you can see something called courses. Just click that. You can see all the courses that you can follow. So for example, if you click MD, you can see currently there are 35 MD courses, and there are some of them, and postgraduates that they are available in Sri Lanka. And for all of these courses, they have mentioned the relevant website. Postgraduate, many of the career opportunities that you all are entire studies or not. Now, in getting the benefits of these opportunities, there are some challenges that you have to overcome. If I give you some examples, there are some differences in the administrative and the administrative structure and the financial procedures. Now, for an example, let's say there are different procedures in relation to getting different leaves for different purposes. And there are some procedures that you need to adhere when you want to go for a transfer. And let's say if you try to apply for a temporary attachment, you need to know how will you be paid, who will be your paying authority. So these, I mean, you should be having the relevant background information regarding these procedures. Otherwise, these will prevent you from being entitled to these opportunities. And another example is that there are some eligibilities that you need to fulfill in getting some of these opportunities. Now, for an example, let's say something called language allowance that you need to follow. So if you don't know these, what happens is there will be some unnecessary delays. So it is important for you all to get some background information regarding these departmental procedures. And of course, there can be some unexpected occurrences, like there may be some unexpected complaints from some staff members and litigations and unexpected family commitments as well. And regarding the international opportunities, one of the challenges that you need to face is that you need to prove that you are competent in carrying out that overseas scholarship, fellowship, or the placement. So we will discuss two things that doctors usually ignore in relation to these post international opportunities that they are entitled to. So one is that if you think of yourselves, I think many of you do not maintain a curriculum vitae or a biodata. CV. Now, you know, when they advertise for a overseas placement, scholarship or fellowship, sometimes you get a very short duration. So usually what happens is doctors haven't updated their CV. So either they do not apply or they just prepare a preliminary CV. So they by themselves downgrade their qualification for that particular placement. It is important that you try to have some kind of a generic CV, and when a particular placement, scholarship or fellowship is advertised, you can cut and paste the relevant components from that generic CV. Usually, all CVs would include some aspects like personal information, awards and grants that you have received, in special project you have participated in. Now, for an example, updated CV with yourself. And the second component doctors usually ignore is publications. So why do we talk about publications? Why do we publish? We publish for two purposes. One is that, let's say, by research activities or doing audit, so we need to share what we find. We need to share our findings with others. For the purpose of sharing our findings, we do publications. And what is the other purpose of doing publications? Now, let's say you go for an interview and they ask, what are the research projects that you have been involved in? And you say that I did this research, then definitely they will ask, what is our publications? You cannot prove that you involved in these research activities. So there are various ways that you can publish. You can publish full articles, abstracts, books, and there are various article types that you can publish. There is something called original research based on the data that you collect, and there can be audit reports, review articles, perspective articles, opinion articles, and to get many publications as possible. And when you have publications under your name, then you start thinking about the citations. So what is a citation? A citation means when your article, then that is regarded as a citation. So people like to have many citations as possible. So when you have some citations under your name, then some of these scientific journals will start sending you some articles for peer review. Then you start collecting data about your peer reviewing processes. Now, if I show you some examples, there are some research platforms like Google Scholar and ResearchGate. Now, you can see in the Google Scholar, there are some parameters that they automatically calculate. So something is called citation index, H index, I10 index, like that. So there you go as a speaker, they don't introduce you by telling other thing. They just tell what is your citation. And you will not, please don't be surprised. Let's say if you want to apply for a visa, we have discussed about career expectations, these opportunities. And most importantly, we discussed why you should be happy for already being a doctor in the fall. We'll proceed with the rest of this workshop. And in the rest of this workshop, you will have sessions on communication skills, departmental guidelines in relation to the medical legal duties and financial management related guidelines, and guidelines regarding the MOH and the duties and of the transfer procedures as well. So you all can see that all these aspects related to your career opportunities, expectations, and demands. So wish you all a very great day and a fruitful workshop. Thank you.
superintendent at Base Hospital, Bay Rural, and he was the former deputy director, Base Hospital, Horana, Ketumati, and Maternity Hospital. It's over to you, sir.